Hello guys, welcome back to Fanfic Dojo. Today we will be listening to What If Naruto Chooses Hinata over Sakura at Academy Part 2. Kabuto and the 50 Sound Ninjas arrived in the formerly No Whirlpool village, but they saw nothing except an empty village with no one living in it. They started looking around to see if anyone was around, but they saw no one. Naruto and Jiraiya finished learning the Kenjutsu style and was getting ready to start another one with the old man. Naruto learned a bunch of water jutsus from Kushima and 10 whirlpool taijutsu styles from his uncles. Kutame sensed the sound ninjas outside and told Jiraiya about it. He walked outside to see what they wanted while Itachi, Kisame, Jiraiya, Kenji, Katuzan, and Ukano, Kenzu, Jiron, Kenli, Kunin, Kyoki, Shinin and Kutai was getting ready to back him up in case of a battle. Naruto had to stay inside because he didn't want nobody to recognize him and because Jiraiya said that he would take care of it. Jiraiya, Itachi and Kisame transformed themselves into old men so that they wouldn't be recognized by anyone. They walked outside without revealing the location of the entrance to anyone and stood behind Kutame. "We need a sword made for Orochimaru-sama's apprentice," said Kabuto, looking at the army of 13 thinking that they would back down when they heard Orochimaru. "What does that have to do with us? Can't you just buy a sword?" said Kutame, looking at the young boy. "No, we need one that he can flow his chakra type through." "And you will make it," threatened Kabuto, and the sound ninjas jumped behind him. "Look here, Kenji-san, the kid wants to play ninja," said Kutame. They all took out their swords and got in their fighting stance facing the 50 sound ninjas. "You think you can take us on?" said Kabuto, laughing. "Try us," said Kutame, smiling. The sound ninjas ran toward the whirlpool shinobis with great speed, but the whirlpool shinobis stood firm and didn't even move a muscle. "Don't go all out," said Kutame, smiling. One threw a kick toward Kyoki, but she dodged it. Before she could counter-attack, another kicked her in the stomach, but she did a flip back so she wouldn't fall. She took out her sword while the two sound ninjas took out their kunais. She settled in a kenjutsu stance and got ready. The first sound nin attacked her with his kunai, but she blocked it with her sword and kicked him back. The second one took the chance to start doing some and seals, then said, "Kaden, Karyu Enden Fire Style, Fire Dragon Flame Bullet," and a fire dragon came out his mouth toward the girl. She did a back flip and put some distance between herself and the sound nin. She planted the sword on the ground and did some hand seals, then said almost quietly, "Suiten, Sujinheki no Jutsu, Water Style, Water Encampment Wall Jutsu," and a water wall formed in front of her out of nowhere which stopped the fire dragon. She picked up the sword while the wall was still up and jumped through the water wall toward. The nin saw her coming his way and took out his kunai, but it was too late since she jumped down in front of him and pierced his heart with her. She took it out of him just in time to cut the other nin who was trying to sneak up on her clean off. She got up and wiped her sword in his clothes and put it back in its place. Kutai had already killed one of the sound nins attacking her, and it was now a one-on-one fight. They were both sweating and struggling, but Kutai had a big smile on her face since she ain't get in no fight in a long time. She was fighting like she was crazy and her attacks were deadly and powerful. She sent a powerful strike with a sword again and the sword went right through the kunai and sliced through the man's shoulder. She was about to slice him again, but he kicked her away. She ran back toward him with incredible speed and ducked right in front of him and cut him from the balls up, in half. Jiraiya, Itachi, Kisame and Kenji was standing side to side looking at the sound nin in front of them. Itachi was the first to move. He took out some kunais and jumped in the air in swift and quick motion. He killed 4 sound nins with the kunais before he landed on the ground. Jiraiya disappeared and reappeared in the middle of all the sound nin and punched one in the stomach with so much force that the nin died immediately. All of them was about to attack him when Kutame jumped and landed in front of the nins and killed 3 with 2 sword strikes. Jiraiya kicked one nin and sent him flying in the air. Itachi jumped in the air after the nin and took out his Anbu sword in mid-air and cut the man's arm before he ran his sword through the man's stomach. The body fell down and Itachi landed on the ground with the sword in his hand. Jiraiya, Kisame, and Kenji killed all of the nins that was around them and was now running toward the other guys, but when they got there all of the other nins were already dead. Now there was only 10 sound nins left alive including Kabuto who was hiding looking at the fight. Kisame took 2 nins by the neck and threw them in the air and Itachi finished them. Kutame cut yet another one's head while Kenji put his sword away after he killed 2 sound nin. All of the sound ninjas was killed and only Kabuto was left alive. Come out boy, said Kutame laughing. You will carry a message to Orochimaru, that he'll be killed if he ever come back here, said Kutame. Kabuto was about to run away before Katuzan appeared in front of him and kicked him in the chest sending him flying. Kabuto got up and got in a stance to fight. Katuzan just let him go. He can't seriously think that he can fight all of us, when I could kill him without breaking a sweat, said Kutame. Yes, Kutame-sama, said Katuzan walking away from Kabuto. Kabuto sunk in the ground. Lord Orochimaru will be pissed, thought Kabuto running on the river. Well that was fun, said Kunin putting her sword away. Hell yeah, said Kisame dropping the disguise and the others in disguise did the same. Clean this up, said Kutame pointing at the dead bodies on the ground. Kisame did some hand seals then said, Sweden. Bakusui Shoha no Jutsu, water style, explosive water shockwave, and out his mouth came a big water shock wave which washed the bodies away. They all went back inside to continue their day. Jiraiya and Naruto got back to training while Kisame started reading an orange book that Jiraiya gave him to pass some time. Itachi was outside to help on Naruto's training. Jiraiya and Naruto finished the sword training and went inside to eat. Kushima prepared the food and everybody sat around the table to eat. Jiraiya finished eating and went outside with Naruto, Itachi, and Kisame. What do you know about the leader? Said Jiraiya sitting by the river thinking. We don't really know of his skill but it's said that he can summon a bunch of animals and that he's never been defeated before, said Itachi thinking back to his time in the Akatsuki. Do any of you have any summons? Said Kutame coming out the water, which surprised everybody. Me and Naruto can summon toads, answered Jiraiya looking at the old man. No, answered Kisame and Itachi. What do you like? Asked Kutame. Sharks, said Kisame laughing. Crows, answered Itachi. Follow me, said Kutame walking toward the library. They went inside the library and Kutame went inside a door that was inside the library and they entered the room. There was a bunch of scrolls with different names on them. Kutame took out 3 scrolls and threw one to Itachi, one to Naruto, and one to Kisame. Kisami's scroll had shark on it. Naruto's had lion on it, while Itachi's had crow on it. They went outside back by the river and opened the scrolls. Kisami's had most of the Uzumaki's on it since the island was surrounded by water. Itachi's had no names signed in it yet, and Naruto's had only 3 names on it, Kutame, Kushima, Kushina. The lion was the Uzumaki's main summon until they had no ninja village and didn't have any more war. Itachi signed the contract and summoned a big crow but he felt his chakra go down as soon as he did the summon. Kisame summoned a giant shark in the river and was grinning. Who summoned me here? Yelled the shark. I was me Kisame Hoshigaki, said Kisame standing in front of the shark. Hoshigaki huh? Said the shark. Yes, I will be your new summoner, said Kisame. I am Hoshiki the head of the sharks, said the shark looking at Kisame. Pleasure to meet you, said Kisame. Jiraiya did some hand seals and summoned Ma and Pa Toad to explain the situation to them before Naruto signed the contract with the lions. Jiraiya told them about the Akatsuki leader's ability to summon more than one animal and the lions were his mother's summon. They agreed to let him sign the contract, and Naruto signed it before he summoned a lion as big as Gamabunta, who was exited since he ain't been summoned in a long time. Kutame is that you? Roared the lion. I'm here but I wasn't the one to summon you, it was Kushina's son, said the old man. Kushina's son? Where is he? Roared the lion. I'm right here, said Naruto on top of the big lion. As soon as Naruto jumped down and the lion could see him, the big summon started laughing. What's your name? Said the lion laughing. I'm Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, the future Hokage of Konoha, said Naruto striking a pose. I am Shishio the Alpha Lion, said the big summon before he disappeared in a puff of smokes, and so did all the other summons. Jiraiya walked up to Naruto and put an arm around him. Naruto looked up to see his sensei smiling at him, he smiled back and they went inside. For the first time, Naruto could take the swords out of their sheaths to take a closer look at them. He took out the Namikaze sword out its sheath and started looking at the sword with his eyes widened at the amazing sword. The handle was white and the sword itself seemed to glow in the dark room. He touched it and instantly cut himself due to the sharpness of the sword. He put it away and took out the Uzumaki family sword. The handle of the sword was black with red Uzumaki swirl all over it. The body of the sword was blood red with a black roaring lion on each side. Naruto didn't like fighting with weapons, but he really loved the swords, and being one of the few reminders of his parents made them even more precious to him. Naruto looked over the swords a few more times before he put them away to go to sleep. 1 month later. Over the past month, Naruto learned summoning tricks from Jiraiya like the Gamaguchi Shibari. Naruto learned nothing but summoning tricks from Jiraiya and his granddad Kutame. He was getting impatient of not learning any ninjutsu yet, because Jiraiya told him that that's what he was working on last. He was getting ready to learn one of Jiraiya's infiltration jutsus, so he was outside sitting on a rock meditating. Jiraiya walked out of the compound and saw Naruto meditating, so he smiled at the boy. Come here, Gaki, said Jiraiya, and Naruto got up and walked toward him. Today I'm going to teach one of my infiltration jutsus, watch closely, said Jiraiya looking serious. He created a clone, and told Naruto to create one also, which just stood in front of them without moving. He did some hand seals, then said, Ninpu. Gamma Daira Kage Ayatsuri no Jutsu, Ninja Art. Toad Flat Shadow Control Jutsu, and he turned into Naruto's clone Shadow, which was flat on the ground, and started to make the clone walk away from Naruto. Naruto looked at him in awe because he thought that only the Naruto knew shadow-related jutsus. Jiraiya dropped the jutsu and showed Naruto all the hand seals for performing ninjutsus and told him to perform all of them in order at least 100 times before he showed him the hand seals for the jutsu he performed. Naruto put his hand in the cross shape and said, Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Multi-Shadow Clone Jutsu, and 100 clones appeared around him. They all started doing the hand seals to memorize all of them, and over time they increased the speed at which they performed the seals. Naruto dispelled some of the clones every 5 minutes and gained the experience that they had doing the seals, until he could perform all the hand seals in 5 seconds. When he finished, Jiraiya showed him the hand seals for the jutsu and Naruto performed them before he said, Ninpu. Gamma Daira Kage Ayatsuri no Jutsu, Ninja Art. Toad Flat Shadow Control Jutsu, and nothing happened. Jiraiya walked up to him. You should concentrate on the jutsu, and don't put too much chakra, said Jiraiya. Naruto closed his eyes and started thinking about his meditating sessions. He opened his eyes again and did the hand seals, then said, Ninpu. Gamma Daira Kage Ayatsuri no Jutsu, Ninja Art. Toad Flat Shadow Control Jutsu, and his shadow took over Jiraiya's clone shadow and he saw that he could control the clone's movements and such. Naruto started jumping around, still controlling the clone, so the jutsu got cancelled when he failed to concentrate. With Sasuke. Flashback 3 weeks earlier. Kabuto returned to the Sound Village alone and tired after the long travel from the whirlpool. He looked around and saw no one, so he decided to go inside the hideout. He knew where to find his master, so he went straight to the training ground to find the hubby Sennin training the young Uchiha. His clothes were still dirty from when Katuzan kicked him in the chest. He walked in the training ground and saw Sasuke working on the Chidori with Orochimaru. Kabuto, you're back. Where is the sword? Said Orochimaru, licking his lips. They wouldn't make it, said Kabuto looking at his master. Did you kill them? said Orochimaru with anger in his voice. No, I barely escaped with my life and all the sound ninjas I went with got killed, said Kabuto. What? How many did you take with you? Said Orochimaru with anger in his voice. 50 of them, said Kabuto. What? Thought Orochimaru. And an old man said if you ever go back there that you'll be killed, said Kabuto seriously. They dare threaten me, laughed Orochimaru. We just to find another way to get Sasuke-kun a sword, said Orochimaru with a wicked smile. Flashback end. Orochimaru was training Sasuke in Kenjutsu since he found another blacksmith to make the sword that he wanted for the young Uchiha. Sasuke was panting and Orochimaru was just taunting him about Itachi to make him continue to train and let the curse seal take over him. Sasuke was faster than Orochimaru himself now and he was just copying Orochimaru's sword movement. He was dodging the sword strikes but he couldn't a single hit on the snake eyes Sannin due to his snake-like flexibility. Sasuke was getting frustrated not being able to land a single hit on the snake summoner, and thinking about his brother killing his whole family. In Konoha, Shikamaru and Choji finished their training with their family jutsus, so now they had to go train with their sensei Asuma. The boys walked slowly toward their training ground, especially Shikamaru, who didn't even want to go. They finally made it to the training ground and saw their sensei smoking a cigarette standing under a tree. Choji and Shikamaru was in their team training session to train with their sensei Asuma. Okay, today we work to improve your close combat skills, said Asuma putting the smoke away. Troublesome, said Shikamaru sitting down. Since you all have your clan styles, I'll create some clones that you can practice and that will help you improve, said Asuma smiling at the boys. Then we can work on your control and stamina, said Asuma. Asuma created 5 shadow clones so that the boys could practice against, and with that their session started. Shikamaru suddenly got serious as hell but he still didn't want to do it. The clones went against them one by one and the boys was getting pounded by Asuma's clones but over time they dispelled all of them since Shikamaru said, Kujimane no Jutsu, Shadow Possession Jutsu, and caught all of them in his family's jutsu, and Choji finished them also using his family's expansion jutsu. Okay, good teamwork, said Asuma clapping. Now for stamina and control you know what to do, said Asuma going back to sit under the tree. Shikamaru and Choji started running up and down a tree for the exercise. Ino, Sakura, Hinata, and Tenten was doing the dodging exercise with Tsunade and neither of them was getting hit by the ball since they got used to it already. Now after doing all those exercise of Tsunade's and training with their sensei Hinata had the most chakra out of all of them, followed by Tenten and Ino with Sakura in last. Hinata had spent all her time either training with her father and Neji or with Tsunade and the girls. She started growing out of her shyness and started to be more outgoing with her friends and family. Danzo was going straight to the academy and taking those students who didn't pass the Genin exam to place them in his root program. He now had about 50 kids in the root Anbu without Tsunade knowing about it. He trained them to make them strong and placed seals on their tongues so that they wouldn't reveal anything about what he was doing and about him in case they got caught in a mission or something. He wanted to put some of the clan kids in the program but he never got the chance and didn't want to get killed by the clan head. He tried to get Neji to join back in the academy but the young prodigy declined the offer which frustrated the old war hawk. He tried hard to recruit Naruto to turn him into a weapon but the Sandaime Hokage stopped his plan. Now he was looking for some new recruits for his program. With Naruto, they finished the day with Naruto learning 2 more infiltration jutsus from his sensei Jiraiya. He was happy that he was still strong without learning any attack or defense ninjutsus yet. He was happy that his sensei took his time to train him properly. He had learned all of the infiltration jutsus that Jiraiya taught him. Now over the next year he would learn his sensei, his dad, and his mom's legacy. He was to learn how to make swords from Kutame, how to be a spy from Jiraiya and Itachi and concealment from all of them. Kisame was taking the time to bond with his new summon animal, and so was Itachi. Right now they were in the summoning realm. In the summoning realm, the Lion Alpha and the elders went to visit the toads, because now they had to be friends since they had one common summoner. The lions and the toads got along great because they started talking about their past summoner and found out that their last summoners were married to each other. Jiraiya was currently inside reading over the notes that Minato left about Naruto's seal. He wanted to see how many tails the boy could control without losing control to the beast. He was going to test that in the next year when the boy's chakra increased. 2 years later, Naruto and Jiraiya finished the training trip and was getting ready to do a little traveling before they went back to the Hidden Leaf Village. Naruto learned everything that Kutame, Jiraiya, and Kushima had to teach him. Naruto mastered all of the infiltration jutsus that his sensei taught him and the concealment jutsus that Itachi and Kisame taught, and he even exchanged some jutsus with them. He started working on finishing the Rasengan after he read the scroll that his father left him. He learned the Flying Thunder God Jutsu, but all of them could still defeat him if it was a serious to the death match, so he knew he had to grow stronger. The Uzumakis that had to go to the village had already left with a letter from Jiraiya for them to enter the village and a letter for Tsunade to guide them to the compound that Kushina bought before she married Minato for them to stay for the time being before they summoned the real Uzumaki compound in the Leaf Village. Kushina bought the mansion because after she gave birth to Naruto she was about to go to the whirlpool and see if any of her family survived to live in the big compound. The compound was as big as the Hyuga compound because she knew her family would rebuild the Uzumaki family in the village, at least that was her dream. Kutame and the rest came with nothing because they knew that Naruto and Jiraiya would summon their compound to the village with everything in it already. The Uzumaki and Namikaze accounts made up half of the village's economy and they would make grow over the years. Hello, Hokage-sama, bowed Kenji and his wife. Hello, Uzumaki-san, said Tsunade. Kenji handed her the letter and sat down where Tsunade pointed for them to seat. Tsunade opened the letter. Dear Ba-chan, this is my Jiji, uncles and their wives. Aro Senin said that there is a compound that my mom bought for them before she died and they're going to be living in it. Aro Senin tested them, except for the women since they're pregnant, and their Anbu level. I don't know what that means. I finished my training and will be back in about 3 months. Naruto Uzumaki. That's brat calling me old, thought Tsunade angry. So as the letter states you will be living in the village, said Tsunade looking at the old man and Kenji. Yes, Hokage-sama, answered Kenji before Kutame could say anything because he knew the old man would get on the Hokage's nerve. Do any of you have ninja training? Asked Tsunade looking at Kenji. All of us, but some of the women are pregnant, answered Kenji smiling looking at his wife. Who will lead the clan? Asked Tsunade. That would be Kutame-sama, answered Kenji. Hell no, said Kutame getting up. And who are you? Said Tsunade with a vein on her forehead. Kutame Uzumaki, father of Kushina Uzumaki, said Kutame proudly. And why won't you lead the clan? Said Tsunade. Jiraiya-san told me that I would have to sit in a council made up of a bunch of stuck-up civilians and I won't do it. Kenji as the new leader, I'll be one of the clan's elders, said Kutame laughing at the end. Damn you Jiraiya, Kenji and Tsunade to themselves. And most of the clan heads are around his age, so he'll fit in better than me, said Kutame smirking. He got me, thought Kenji. You got a point there, said Tsunade. That's Naruto's grandfather, huh? Thought Tsunade smiling. And do you know the current rank of the ninjas? Said Tsunade. All of us high Junin level and Kutame-sama Kage level. That's what Jiraiya-san said after he fought all of us, said Kenji thinking back. Kage level huh? Said Tsunade looking at the old man. Yes, old lady, said Kutame. Tsunade got up to go pound the old man to the ground but Shizune stopped her and he just sucked his tongue out at her like a little kid. Calm down Lady Tsunade, said Shizune. You really are Naruto's granddad, said Shizune to the old man. You will not be able to get active duty since you're the head of the family, but the others except the wives and Kutame will be placed in the Anbu under me and the kids will be sent to the academy, said Tsunade looking at Kenji and glaring at Kutame. Why can't I be an active ninja? Asked Kutame laughing. Because you're too old, answered Tsunade glaring at the old man. You wanna take this outside? Said Kutame looking at Tsunade. Let's go, old man, yelled Tsunade. Calm down Lady Tsunade, said Shizune. Dad, calm down, yelled Kenji looking at the old man. She started it, said Kutame laughing. He started it, said Tsunade to Shizune. Whatever, said Kutame. Kenji-san your wife and the other women will be active when I see them fit, said Tsunade to the clan leader. Until then, rest. I will have someone guide you to your new home. Dog, said Tsunade. A man in Anbu clothes and gravity-defying hair appeared in the office in a puff of white smokes on one knee in front of the Hokage. Yes, Hokage-sama, said Kakashi. This here is Naruto's family. Please take them to the compound that Kushina-san bought. You know where it is, right? Said Tsunade to the lazy Anbu head. Hi, said Kakashi. And please bring them to the council room later, said Tsunade. Please follow me, said Kakashi to the man in long orange-red hair and the lady in long black hair. They followed Kakashi out the Hokage tower and they started walking toward the compound which was next to the Inuzuka compound. They walked and saw all the stores and some of them were closed down. They arrived at the compound and Kakashi left them there with the key in their hand. They opened the door and went in to see a beautiful garden in the front. They walked through the garden and went inside the compound to rest before their meeting with the Hokage later on. They cleaned the compound and settled in for now. Down in an underground room an old man covered in bandages with only one eye showing was standing with a shinobi in a white mask kneel-ed in front of him. Danzo-sama, it seems some people moved in the village a while ago, said the root member. Who are they? Said Danzo. They're Uzumakis from the former Whirlpool village, said the root member. I went there and didn't find a single person, said Danzo. How many? Asked Danzo. I don't have that information right now, said the root member. Where are they living now? Said Danzo. In a compound bought by the former Anbu captain Kushina Uzumaki, answered the root member. Did they seem strong? Asked Danzo. They all seemed very strong, especially the old man, said the root member. Maybe I can get them to join with us, said Danzo. Yes, sir, said the root member. 10 of you will infiltrate the compound and steal all the scrolls there, said Danzo. Yes, sir, answered the root member, disappearing. I will get those jutsus of the Uzumakis, thought Danzo. Later, everyone was in the council room thinking what could be the reason that they were having this meeting except for Danzo, who already knew why she was having the meeting. She told Kakashi and Tenzo to go find the Uzumakis and bring them to the council room. Why are we having this meeting right now? Said Homura, one of the advisors of the Hokage. Shut up and wait, yelled Tsunade. My wife will have my head if I'm late home, said Shikaku, going back to sleep. Shikaku, wake up, you lazy bastard, said Tsunade, throwing a kunai at the man which he caught and gave it to the person who was nearest to him, thinking it was too troublesome to hand back to the Hokage. But, Lady Tsunade, said Shikaku. No buts, wake the hell up, said Tsunade, but Shikaku just put his head up and went to sleep sitting straight up. Kakashi and Tenzo came back with Kenji and Kutame, who was chatting with the Anbu captain. Kutame looked around, saw everybody looking at them, and Kakashi and Tenzo just went and stood behind the Hokage like they should. Cat, please create a chair for Uzumaki-san for me, said Tsunade, smiling. Did you say Uzumaki? Said Inoichi and Shikaku. Yes, we have a new council seat in the council for the Uzumakis, said Tsunade, looking at everybody. I thought that Naruto was the last Uzumaki, said Choza, surprised. Naruto and Jiraiya found them when they went to the whirlpool, said Tsunade, smiling at Kenji before she glared at the old man, remembering earlier. Didn't you think we needed to know about it before you let them in? Said Homura, the old man advisor. No, not really, answered Tsunade simply. And why is that? Asked Kaharu, the old lady. Because I didn't want to, answered Tsunade, looking at the old lady who was now mad as fuck. Why? Asked Homura. Because from now on the civilian side of the council don't have no say in shinobi business, said Tsunade, getting tired of them asking her all those questions. You can't do that, we have power to do what we want, said Homura, getting up. You have power over business that has to do with civilians, yelled Tsunade, getting up from her seat. Excuse me, I'm still here, said Kutame, jumping in the conversation. Oh yeah, everyone, this is Uzumaki Kenji, the head of the Uzumaki clan and Uzumaki Kutame, Naruto's grandfather, said Tsunade, pointing at Kenji then at Kutame. Who cares about the little demon's clan? Yelled a mid-aged lady with pink hair. Kutame took out two sword in the blink of an eye, and Kenji had his sword already at the lady's throat with a speed unseen by everyone in the room. Kutame released a killing intent, having even Tsunade and everyone 2 blocks of the council room on guard. He walked toward the lady slowly with two sword in his hand. I heard people talking how good the Uzumakis were with swords, but I thought they were playing, thought Tenzo, who was still standing behind Tsunade. Such speed with the sword, thought Hiyashi. Can I kill her? Asked Kutame softly but in a dangerous voice. No, as much as I want to do it myself. If Naruto found out that someone was killed for him, he wouldn't like that, said Tsunade, still standing in her place. Kutame stopped releasing the killing intent and everyone went back to normal. Kenji put his sword away and walked back to the place he was standing at first. Talk about my grandson like that again, I will have your ugly head as a punishment, said Kutame, walking back. Everybody smelled something coming from the lady, before she excused herself from the meeting to go home. Did she just shit on herself? Yelled Sume, laughing her ass off. This is too good, yelled Sume again, still laughing. Yeah, said Shikaku with a smile on his face. I like you already, Uzumaki, said Sume, laughing. Kenji, please have a seat, said Tsunade, pointing at the chair made by Tenzo, which was between Choza and Shikaku's seats. Kenji walked up there and took a seat. Shikaku put his head up a little and looked at the red-head man, still with a bored expression, but now he smiled at man. We going to a bar after this meeting? You want to come? Asked Shikaku. Sure, but we can't stay too late or my wife will have my head, said Kenji with a smile. I was about to say the same thing, said Shikaku. I'm Nara Shikaku, by the way, said Shikaku, putting his hand out. Uzumaki Kenji, said Kenji, shaking his hand. Meeting dismissed, said Tsunade. Everybody got up and was walking toward the building's exit. Kutame was the first one to get out the building. Outside the building, everyone went to a bar to have some fun before they had to go home. Kenji ordered a bunch of drinks for himself, his dad, and his new friends. They drank and got drunk and everybody got ready to go home. Kenji and Kutame was drunker than a motherfucker and they were walking home since they wanted to see around the village. They got close to their home and Kutame sensed people outside and Kenji did too, but they act like they didn't know that the shinobis were around. Danzo's minions saw the two coming and that they couldn't even walk straight, so they were going to take advantage of the situation when the old man whispered something in Kenji's ear and the clan head just walked off and stood against the wall, leaving the old man by himself. Kill both of them, whispered the leader to the root members. Hi, they answered before taking out their Anbu sword and running toward the old man. Kenji smiled when Kutame started doing some hand seals before he took out his sword, then said, Uzumaki's secret technique, multiple sword of the whirlpool, and pointed his swords toward the incoming root members. His swords multiply into a bunch of swords with no handle and shot toward the incoming root members and killed all of them before the duplicates of the swords disappeared like a shadow clone. The leader quickly got away from the two deadly Uzumakis to report to his master. Kutame went inside his home, leaving the bodies with all the sword holes in their body on the ground so that people could see them the next day. Someone saw everything that happened since he lived right next door. With Danzo. Danzo was in the underground ba waiting for the Uzumaki's jutsu scrolls. He saw what they could do with the sword and wanted them to be on his side, at least their skills. His root soldier arrived in front of him breathless and alone. What happened? Asked Danzo. The old man killed all of them with one jutsu, answered the root member. Damn it! Yelled Danzo in his mind. Dismissed. Said Danzo. The root member left and went back to training the new recruits that they got from the academy. The next day, Kakashi was going to get the Uzumakis so that they could get their Anbu mask. When he saw all the bodies on the ground, he immediately called for the Hokage, and she got in front of the compound and saw the bodies with multiple holes on their bodies on the ground with their Anbu swords in their hands, but she knew that they weren't from her Anbu division. He called for Kutame outside to explain everything. What happened here? Asked Tsunade, pointing to the bodies on the ground. Coming from a bar, sensed them around the compound, attacked me, killed them, said Kutame laughing. What do you know what they wanted? Asked Tsunade. Nope, but one of them escaped, said Kenji coming out the compound. Who could have sent them? Thought Tsunade. Kutame looked at the bodies on the ground and smiled before he went back inside to sleep. I suggest you find who sent those ninjas to attack us, said Kenji, walking to stand against the wall. Please bring those able to go on active duty to my office, please, said Tsunade, disappearing back to her office. Kenji went inside and told everybody to get ready to go to the Hokage's office. They all got ready and headed toward the office with smiles on their faces. They got to the office and went in. When they went in the office, they saw Kutame sitting on a chair inside the office. Uzumaki-san, you will not be on active duty, yelled Tsunade again. Why not? Asked Kutame. Because you have other duty to take care of, yelled Tsunade. Like what? Yelled Kutame. Like the financial business, said Tsunade, glaring at the old man. The shops that Kushina bought before she died, said Tsunade, seeing the man's confused face. Which one of you want to be a regular Junin, and who wants to be in the Anbu? Asked Tsunade, looking at them. Junin, I want to be with my wife more, said Katuzan. Junin, said Kenley. Junin, said Kutai. Junin, said Kyoki. Junin, said Kunin. Anbu, said Shinin. Anbu, said Kenzu. Anbu, said Jiron. Anbu, said Ukano. Shizune, please bring me some Anbu equipments, said Tsunade. Shizune went in a closet that was in the room and took out 4 Anbu outfits and gave them to Tsunade, with 4 masks, a polar bear, a rat, a dolphin, and a duck. Chose, said Tsunade. Duck, yelled Kenzu, jumping around. Rat, said Ukano, who was a master at hiding. What the hell? I wanted that, said Jiron with a frown on his face. Too slow then, idiot, yelled Ukano. I guess I'll take dolphin then, said Jiron. So, I guess the last one is for me, said Shinin, taking the mask from the Hokage. Shizune, please bring me Junin jackets, said Tsunade. I don't want one, I like the clothes that I'm wearing now, said Kutai, walking back to stand against the wall, and the other 2 ladies agreed with her. Bring 2, said Tsunade. Shizune gave her the 2 jackets and she gave one to Kenley and one to Katuzan. You are now officially shinobis of Konoha, said Tsunade, smiling at them. Cat, please take them to the Anbu HQ to see where they fit, said Tsunade. Please follow me, said the Anbu member with the cat mask. Now, Kutame-san, do you want Kushina's old account under your name or Kenji's? Asked Tsunade, glaring at the old man. Kenji, is that all, old lady? Said Kutame, looking at Tsunade, laughing. Get out my office, we'll talk later, yelled Tsunade, glaring at the old man. The newly appointed Anbu member walked to the headquarters with their hands behind their head like a yellow-haired boy known around the village for behind a prankster. They walked in the headquarters and saw a bunch of other Anbus standing in a line waiting for them. In the line was Morino Ibiki, Anko, man in a bear mask and man in a dog mask. They stood up waiting for whatever they were supposed to do. Welcome. Would you please state an area that you can work in? There's combat, retrieval, and interrogations, said the man in the dog mask. I'm very good with hand-to-hand combat, so I'll choose combat, said Jerome, walking toward the man in the dog mask. I'll take interrogations, said Ukano with a smile under the mask. He took off his mask and his eyes had an evil look in them. You're not supposed to take off your mask, idiot, yelled Shinin, taking off her mask. You just took off yours, yelled Ukano back to the girl in dark black hair. I'll take retrieval, said Kenzu without saying anything else. I'll take combat, said Shinin, walking toward the man in the dog mask. What are you scared of? A little interrogating, laughed Anko. Shinin was suddenly behind her with her sword in her throat. Oh shit, Captain, you might wanna get away from here, said Jerome, going to stand against the wall. Kakashi did as he was told, not wanting to stop the cat fight. Shit, Anko thought before she did some hand seal, then said, Sene Jishu, hidden shadow snake hands, and 3 snakes came out her sleeve to restrain the girl. Shinin just did some flip back and cut all the snakes' head off. Anko took out some kunais and threw them at her with deadly accuracy, but she dodged some and blocked those she couldn't dodge with her sword. She threw the sword in the air and did some hand seals, then said, Uzumaki's secret technique, raining sword of the whirlpool, and the sword duplicated and fell toward Anko. Anko threw some kunais hoping to deflect the raining swords, but she couldn't. Just then Ukano jumped in the air after some fast hand seals, then said, Uzumaki's secret technique, multiple sword of the whirlpool, which hit all the raining swords, deflecting them to the wall. The duplicates of the swords disappeared out of existence in a poof of smoke, and Shinin appeared in front of Anko and threw a punch at her. Anko blocked the punch with her left hand and tried to kick the girl, but Shinin ducked before the kick could connect. Shinin sent a powerful kick toward Anko, but the snake summoner dodged it, twisting her body almost snake-like. Shinin kept throwing punches and kicks very fast, but Anko was still twisting her body snake-like to dodge them. She jumped in the air and started doing some hand seals for a jutsu, but before she could finish, Shinin appeared behind her and kicked her to the ground with a very powerful kick. Anko hit the ground with a thud and Shinin landed on the ground and picked up her sword. She started walking toward the girl on the ground before all of the people around jumped in front of her, stopping her. Well damn, I fucked with a girl that can kill me, thought Anko, relieved. What the fuck? Yelled Shinin, walking toward Ukano. Ni-chan, I'm SSS sorry, pleaded Ukano to his older sister before she kicked him in the gut. Shut up. Don't be taking that slut's side, yelled Shinin, about to kick him again. Who the hell you calling a slut? Yelled Anko, glaring at the girl. You dress like one, yelled Shinin. That's a very distracting outfit when fighting men, yelled Anko, showing off her legs. Slutty. Need a distraction to win, yelled Shinin, laughing. Shut up, tramp. You just jealous you don't have a body like mine, yelled Anko. Want to see slut? Yelled Shinin, taking off her top, staying only in a sport bra, revealing a nicely toned body with nice curves. Woo! Yelled the man in the dog mask. Watch it, pervert! Yelled Shinin, looking at the man. Yes, mom, said Kakashi, shutting up. Please stop, yelled Ibiki with a sadistic smile on his face. I'll get you for this later, Ukano, said Shinin, walking away from the man on the ground. I said I was sorry, pleaded Ukano. Unknown location. In an unknown cave, 7 figures hologram was standing around on a big statue. The cave was damp and unremarkable, a simple blip of geography that no one cared to explore. It was dark, vast and completely underground, stalactites and stalagmites silently chomping the empty air. In fact, there was only one somewhat unique aspect to this cave, despite its natural appearance. This cave was covered in discrete seals that could be used as a focal point in emergencies. Thus, the perfect meeting place for Akatsuki to send their shades. It's been a long time since we gathered together like this, said the leader. It seems that Itachi and Kisame have been killed, said the leader. What? I wanted to be the one to kill him, yelled Deidara. We need 2 replacements for them, said the leader. Toby is a good boy, let Toby join, jumped a young-looking boy with an orange mask. Zetsu give Toby Itachi's ring, said the leader with the rings around his pupil. We need to find a replacement for Kisame and some more backup member, said the leader. All of you, find Raiga, Doki, and any other useful members, said leader. After that, go after the host of Shukaku, said the leader. Me and Deidara will go after Gaara of the desert, said Sasori the puppet master. Konoha. Everybody was out having lunch because they came from a mission. Kiba and Choji were having an eating contest, while the rest of them were just eating. Shikamaru was playing shogi with Shino in the corner, who seemed to be enjoying the game. Shikamaru trained his hardest the past year, matter of fact they all did. Shikamaru trained with his dad on advanced version of his clan jutsus, so did all the other kids from clans. Sakura and Ino learned Tsunade mantra strength and was still trying to master it. Tenten and Hinata didn't want to learn the strength technique because Hinata preferred to be gentle but still deadly in a fight, and Tenten wanted to stick with being a weapon mistress. All 4 of them mastered the medical training with Tsunade and helped at the hospital when they weren't on missions. Neji trained with Hinata and Hiyashi to better his skills and was nicer to the main branch since Hiyashi told him what happened with his dad. Hinata wasn't seem weak anymore since she almost killed one of the elder Hyugas. Flashback. It was 1 week after Naruto left for his training trip with the Gamma Sennin. Hinata was in the family training ground training with Hanabi, Neji, and Hiyashi. There was also some of the elders present to watch the training session. Hinata was still a little down about Naruto leaving, so she wasn't really concentrating on her spar with her little sister, which she always held back against. She was losing to Hanabi, when one of the elders made a comment. She's not fit to be the heiress of the clan, yelled the old man. Hinata-san, don't worry about it. He will come back, said Neji with a quick smile which was barely seen from him. Hi, said Hinata. Naruto, thought Hinata. Who are you talking about? Said the elder. I think young Uzumaki, said Hiyashi. You should not let her associate with his kind, yelled the old man. What do you mean his kind? Said Hinata with venom and anger in her eyes. Don't talk to me that way, weakling. And I mean a demon scum like the Uzumaki, said the old man. I will not have you talking about my daughter or the boy that way, said Hiyashi standing up. To say that everyone was surprised would be an understatement. Say that again, yelled Hinata. Demon scum, said the old man. Hinata made a quick movement that the old man couldn't see and hit him in the face with the Jiyuken. She hit in the stomach, then kicked him the old-fashioned way in the balls. The old man spent a week in the medical area of the compound, not able to feel his face. Flashback end. You guys heard that some of Naruto's family moved in the village, said Ino, getting in her gossip mode. Naruto is an orphan, said Sakura, sounding completely stupid. That doesn't mean he don't have any family, said Tenten, looking at her. They're from a village called the Whirlpool, and that Naruto's mom was an Anbu captain here, said Ino. A captain? Said Kiba and Shikamaru at the same time. Yes, and my dad told me that she was stronger than Lady Tsunade herself, said Ino with a smile. What? Yelled all of them. She was known as the Red Death, said Ino with a smile once again. Believe me, my dad told me about her, said Ino. That doesn't sound like Naruto's mom, if she was that strong, said Sakura out of nowhere. What do you mean by that? Asked Shikamaru. Because Naruto was always weak, I bet I can beat him when he comes back, said Sakura. Hinata was getting angrier. Then, you think you can defeat me since Naruto defeated me in the Chunin exam, said Neji with his usual Hyuga face. You can defeat Gaara since Naruto summoned the toad who fought against the Kyuubi to defeat him, said Shikamaru looking at the girl. He would be mad if it wasn't too troublesome. What toad? When the hell did Naruto start to summon toads? Thought Sakura. Sasuke told her that Naruto was the one to defeat Gaara, but she started laughing thinking that Sasuke was playing. She believed that Sasuke told her that it was Naruto so that she could leave him alone. Sasuke was always stronger, and will always be stronger than him, yelled Sakura walking for the exit. Calm down Hinata, said Neji looking at Hinata getting ready to beat the girl. Sasuke was strong but he couldn't defeat him, he was mad that the one they called the Dobi in the academy was catching up to him, said Kakashi appearing out of nowhere with the orange book in his face. What? How come he almost got killed by Sasuke then? Said Sakura looking at her sensei angry. Because he made a promise to you that you didn't really deserve. He said he would bring Sasuke back to you. If he killed him he wouldn't hold his promise now would he? Said Shikamaru sitting up. In other words, he held back against Sasuke, which to me was very unyouthful, said Lee giving the thumbs up. Naruto, thought Sakura. I'm sorry, said Sakura with tears in her eyes sitting back where she sat before. Save it. Always think a few tears can get you anything. It didn't get you precious Uchiha to stay. It won't work her. Anyway continue, said Shikamaru. So, what happened to her? Said Neji getting interested in the story. She died giving birth to Naruto, said Kakashi putting the book down, before he left without a trace. What the hell? He just left, thought all the kids. You guys heard of Kushina right? Asked Ino. Yes, said Neji and Hinata. That's Naruto's mom, said Ino. No way. My mom used to talk about a Kushina lady all the time. I thought she was making things up, said Kiba with his eyes widen. That's my mom's old friend, said Hinata with a smile. Naruto, said Sakura. Then that Kushina lady's dad is still alive. Matter of fact I forgot to tell you guys but one night Naruto's granddad and his uncle was coming home drunk and there was 10 Anbu guys waiting to ambush them, they wasn't no regular Anbu since they dressed different. I couldn't sleep so I was on the roof of my house and the old man whispered something in the other guy's ear and the guy went and stood against the wall. 9 of those fake Anbu guys ran toward the old man to kill him, but he killed all 9 of them with one jutsu. His sword glowed and a bunch of swords shot toward the fake Anbu guys. I was like wow, awesome, said Kiba finishing the story. You can't be serious, said Shikamaru putting his head up a little. Dead serious, he killed them with one jutsu and he couldn't even walk straight since he was so drunk, said Kiba laughing at the end. Wow, was all Choji could say. What? He was drunk and killed 9 shinobis with one jutsu, yelled Tenten looking around. You making this up? Said Ino looking at Kiba. I'm telling you, said Kiba looking back at the girl. My dad told me that the old man named Kutame made some council member shit on herself for talking about Naruto, said Shikamaru eating his food. My mom told me that too and I was laughing my ass off, but she wouldn't tell me what the lady looked like, laughed Kiba. My dad told me about that too, I thought he was playing, said Choji laughing. Then I can't wait till Naruto comes back, so I can test my flames of youth against him, said Lee striking a cool guy's pose giving the thumbs up. I guess, I'll have to wait for my friend to come back. So troublesome, said Shikamaru looking around. I'm not going to fight him, I'm not crazy anymore. I know when somebody can kick my ass, said Kiba grinning. A month later, the streets of Konoha was quiet except for the 3 kids chasing down a cat. The kids ran after the cat but with no luck of catching it. It was the Konohamaru Corps doing a mission of catching the evil, twisted, demonic cat Tora. Konohamaru was running full speed toward the cat and it was the same time that old man Ichiraku was coming out his ramen stand to deliver an order. He ran into the old man and dropped the food but kept running. Naruto, yelled Ichiraku. Sorry old man, it's me, said Konohamaru. Oh, Naruto is not back yet, said the old man thinking about his favorite customer. Konohamaru, yelled old man Ichiraku. Konohamaru ran after the cat across the whole village. He finally cornered the evil cat in a little alley behind a clothing store. Guys, I have him cornered, said Konohamaru. Go in, said Udon Boy with the drippy nose. Konohamaru ran straight for the cat and caught it. The cat scratched his face but he still held on to the evil cat. Konohamaru tied the cat's legs and went to meet with his other teammates. In the Hokage Tower, Konohamaru handed the cat to its owner and was waiting for another mission. The cat was being tortured by a hug given to him by the daimyo's wife. It kept trying to get away from the fat woman so badly, but she just ignored the cat's plea for her to stop. She kept hugging the cat and the cat's eyes started to come out by the pressure of the hug. No wonder, it keeps running away, said Konohamaru under his breath. Konohamaru-kun, said the girl of the team sending him a look. Okay, we have another D-rank mission, said Iruka who was interrupted by Konohamaru who sat on the floor of the office. I'm not doing no D-rank mission, said Konohamaru turning his back toward his former teacher. But Konohamaru, you're just a rookie genin fresh out the academy, said Iruka remembering that Naruto did the same thing after a D-rank mission. How do you expect me to show my skills doing these lame missions? After all I'm going to be the 7th Hokage, said Konohamaru with a grin. Huh, why 7th, what about the 6th? Asked Tsunade confused. Oh, that's going to be Naruto ni-san, said Konohamaru with determination in his eyes. Naruto, where are you? Thought Iruka. Oh, he's supposed to come back tomorrow, said Tsunade with a smile. By the main gate, Azumo and Katetsu were doing their usual guard duty at the main gate. However, since they haven't had any visitors or any ninja returning from their mission, they were doing nothing but to watch the sunny bright sky. So they were very bored. At least Katetsu felt that way because Azumo was snoring. The Chunin sweat dropped knowing very well if the Hokage or any superior catches him sleeping on the job he could get in big trouble. Not that it matters to him because he didn't consider wrong for Azumo to sleep on the job, because their Hokage has also sleep in the middle of her job filling the paperwork. Man, it's so boring around here, said one of the guards. Yeah, yawned Azumo putting his head up before going back to sleep again. Down the road, a young man in black ninja cargo pants with a kunai holder on the right thigh. His ankle to his lower calves was covered by white bandages like Kakashi. He had on a no-sleeve skin-tight dark orange shirt which showed his toned and defined muscles perfectly under a dark orange coat with black flames coming from the bottom edge, some black fingerless gloves with a seal for namikaze on the left hand and a seal for uzumaki on the right. He was standing 6 foot tall, a little shorter than the man walking besides him. His yellow hair was wild and reached his shoulder, making him an almost exact replica of the 4th Hokage. He walked down the road with his hands behind his head, slowly trying to keep pace with his sensei. Ghost! Yelled Katetsu, one of the guards. What? Yelled Azumo, quickly getting up from his sleep. It's the ghost of the 4th Hokage, said Katetsu, ready to run. Jiraiya and Naruto finally made it to the gate and Jiraiya did some quick hand seals, then said, Kuchio's no jutsu, summoning jutsu. There was a poof of smoke. When the smoke cleared, the 2 guards saw Jiraiya doing what looked a kabuki dance on top of a mid-sized toad. I'm the man with enemies from west to east. I'm the one who men envy, women desire and kids want to be. I'm the Toad Sage, everyone watch in awe when I battle, the gallants of the world, respected and feared all around the world. Jiraiya! Exclaimed Jiraiya, finishing in one last pose on top of the toad. Jiraiya-sama, you're back, and you have the ghost of the 4th with you, said Katetsu, smiling. Wait, you have the ghost of the 4th with, yelled Katetsu, realizing what he said. Yes, he's come back to punish the village for the way they treated his son, said Jiraiya with a grin. Naruto started to laugh at his sensei's sense of humor. The 4th never had a kid, said the other guard, looking terrified. That's because he wanted it kept a secret, said Jiraiya, still grinning. Yelled Katetsu, looking like he's about to shit on himself. I'm just playing with you, said Jiraiya, laughing with Naruto besides him laughing his ass off also. That smile, The whisker marks, that's Naruto, said the other guard looking at Naruto thinking. Hey, said Naruto putting the peace sign up. Welcome back dude, said Katetsu laughing. Thanks, said Naruto smiling. Ero Senin, I have to go see someone, tell Ba-chan I'll be back. And put this somewhere in the office for me. Make sure Ba-chan doesn't see it, said Naruto walking down the streets after he handed Jiraiya a seal. Naruto walked down the streets of the village with a big smile on his face. How he has missed the place so much. The buildings, the familiar restaurants, the familiar atmosphere, even the weather. Konoha was always gifted with sunny days because it rarely rains. As he walked through the streets, he has noticed in the far distant the Hokage mountain monument. He smiled seeing that Tsunade's face has been carved in the monument, proof is sign that she was the fifth Hokage. As he continues his wailing on the big village, he noticed that every single villager passing by has been staring at him for a while. It was obvious that they were thinking that he was the goose of the fourth, or it was the simple fact that they knew who he was and they were all shocked to see him dressed like their precious hero, or maybe the fact that the village was so quiet in his absence that they were glad he was back even though they didn't want to admit it. Sakura was about to go pick up the afternoon reports by the gates for Tsunade when she ran into Konohamaru and his two teammates. Konohamaru waved to her and she waved back. Hey, Sakura, where you going? Asked Konohamaru. I have to pick up some reports for Tsunade-sama, said Sakura smiling at the boy. Can we come with you? I have to go see if my niece-san came back yet, said Konohamaru. You mean Naruto? Asked Sakura smiling. Yeah, said Konohamaru scratching the back of his head. They made it to the gate and saw the two guards in a better mood than usual. Sakura walked up to them and proceeded to greet them. Katetsu and Izumo still had a smile on their faces from who they seen earlier. Sakura was walking toward them with a smile on her face even though she ain't seen the yellow-head boy yet. Hello, Katetsu-san, I came to pick up the afternoon report, said Sakura smiling. Here you go. And by the way, he's back, said Katetsu handing Sakura the report. Who? Asked Sakura confused. You'll see, said Katetsu smiling. Naruto ni-san is back, said Konohamaru running away from the group with a speed that even he didn't know he had. Konohamaru-kun, yelled the girl. Hokage Tower. Jiraiya popped in the office scaring Tsunade who was about to fall asleep. She swung at him but he dodged the punch easily. Tsunade got up and hugged him with tears in her eyes. You're back, said Tsunade with tears in her eyes. Yes, you shouldn't cry, said Jiraiya hugging her back. Where's Naruto? Said Tsunade. He got killed, said Jiraiya with a grin. What? Yelled Tsunade taking him by the collar. I'm just playing hime, he went somewhere and told me he would be right back, said Jiraiya laughing. Don't play like that baka, said Tsunade throwing him to the wall, but he managed and landed on his feet. Tsunade turned and looked out the window, so Jiraiya took the opportunity to put the seal in the wall. The seal got absorbed in the wall and Jiraiya walked toward the desk and sat down. How is he? Said Tsunade with a smile. Just wait, you'll see, said Jiraiya with a smile. I got two more people with me, said Jiraiya smiling looking at the blonde Hokage. Jiraiya did some hand seals then said, Kuchio's no jutsu, summoning jutsu, and summoned a toad which opened its mouth and Itachi and Kisame came out of its mouth. Itachi and Kisame looked at the blonde Hokage before greeting her. Hello Hokage-sama, they both said to the blonde Hokage. Uchiha Itachi, Kisame Hoshigaki, said the Hokage looking at the two missing nins. They agreed to come back with me, said Jiraiya laughing. What? Do you know what will happen if the people find out about this? Yelled Tsunade. They're not going to be Junins, but straight to the Anbu, said Jiraiya serious. Jiraiya finally took out two masks from a scroll and handed one to Kisame and one to Itachi. Itachi had a crow mask while Kisame had a shark mask. Kisame sealed his giant sword in his right hand so he can use it when he needs it. I will be in charge of them, said Jiraiya seriously. You can't send them outside the village yet, their identity needs to stay a secret for now, said Jiraiya serious. And they'll be leaving with me in Minato's compound, said Jiraiya. Why? Asked Tsunade. Because you don't know why Itachi killed his clan, but I do, said Jiraiya seriously. Then I order you to tell me, yelled Tsunade serious. Let's get some sake later, maybe I'll tell you Hokage-sama, said Jiraiya with sarcasm in his voice. Cat, please take them with you, said Tsunade, and an Anbu in a cat mask appeared in a poof of smokes. I'll be right back, Haim. I have a feeling that this is not going to be good, said Jiraiya, disappearing in a swirl of leaves. Hi, said Cat. He led Kisame and Itachi to the HQ, which Itachi already knew perfectly since he was in the Anbu already. The two made it to the headquarters and stood there waiting for their place. Itachi looked around and saw only the training equipments changed from the time he was in the Anbu. Who are you and what are your skills? Asked the man in the dog mask. Kakashi Senpai, you came back to the Anbu, said Itachi in his usual no-emotion voice, taking off his mask to show his young face. Kisame did the same and grinned at the man in the dog mask, showing his shark teeth. Kakashi took out his Anbu katana and got in a fighting stance. What the hell, what is that traitor doing here? Yelled Anko, looking at the man. Don't talk about things you don't, Anko-san, it might get you killed, said Itachi, looking at the girl. You kill me? I'd like to see that, yelled Anko, looking at the young Uchiha. You wouldn't want to test me now, would you? Said Itachi, still in the same monotone voice. Shit. I can't back down, though, Anko. Anko, this is an S-class shinobi, don't you know when to shut up, said Ibiki. Why are you always the one ending up in a fight? Said Kakashi, looking at the girl. Itachi, you disappoint me, you wasn't really going to fight, was you? Said Jiraiya, appearing behind him. And Anko, please don't try test one of my most loyal shinobi, please, said Jiraiya with a smile. Senpai, Jiraiya-sama came with them, said the man in the cat mask. Kakashi, calm down, you're no longer in the Anbu, Naruto is back, said Jiraiya, looking at the man. Yes, Jiraiya-sama, said Kakashi, calming down. What's up with all that sama thing? You people my friend, right, Ibiki? Said Jiraiya, looking at the man. Cat, you're the new captain of the division, said Jiraiya, looking at the man, smiling. Thank you, Jiraiya-sama, said the man in the cat mask. Itachi, Kisame combat part-time, you guys can do anything right, said Jiraiya, looking at them. Itachi nodded his head and Kisame just grinned. You know where the house is, see you, said Jiraiya, disappearing in a swirl of leaves. With Naruto. Naruto appeared outside the Hyuga compound about 5 minutes ago in a strong gust of wind, which made him look like he was flying the way his coat was. He knocked on the door of the compound. The guards looked at him for a few minutes with their usual no-emotion faces. Naruto was looking confused by the way the guards was looking at him. He stood up and put his hands behind his head and gave his usual smile. Who are you? Asked one of the guards. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, and I'm looking for Hinata, answered Naruto. It's you. I thought you was the ghost of the fourth, one of the guards said. Everybody seems to think that, said Naruto, looking at the guard, laughing. Please follow me, Naruto-san, said the first guard. Naruto followed him to the waiting area of the compound, while the guard then went upstairs and bowed in front of the door of a room. Hinata-sama, you have a visitor, said the guard. Okay, I'll be right out, said Hinata. Hinata came out her room wearing a lighter version of her previous outfit. She was wearing a net shirt under a lavender shirt with no sleeve, and over that was a long-sleeved thin lavender jacket. She had on some net pants under a pair of gray pants which reached her mid-thigh. Her hair reached her back and her skin was soft and her face was really gentle. Yellow hair, it can't be, thought Hinata, smiling and starting to turn red. Excuse me, but who are you? Said Hinata, looking in front of her. Huh, that hurts, Hinata-chan, said Naruto, turning around. Hinata was about to faint when Naruto was suddenly behind her holding her up. Holy shit, is this Hinata? Thought Naruto looking in front of him with his eyes wide open. Don't go fainting on me now, said Naruto. Naruto-kun, yelled Hinata turning tomato red in a second. Dear Kami, is that Naruto-kun? Thought Hinata looking at his features. That's some progress, you don't stutter anymore, said Naruto laughing. What are you doing here? Said Hinata looking at her long-time crush blushing. I came to say what's up, and when is our date? Said Naruto with a grin. What? Said Hinata. He's really taking me on a date, thought Hinata. Wait, you forgot, said Naruto with his eyes widen. No, it's not that. I thought you was playing, yelled Hinata putting her hands up pleadingly. I'll come to get you later then, said Naruto hugging her before making his way to the gate of the compound. She stood there for a good minute before she just fell to the ground unconscious. Naruto-kun just hugged me, was all that was running through her mind. Tower. Tsunade was getting impatient waiting for the blonde knucklehead to show up. She was walking back and forth from the window to the door. Jiraiya was getting scared for his life. Where the hell are you, Gaki? Thought Jiraiya. I'll go look for him, said Jiraiya running out the window. Get your ass back here, Jiraiya, yelled Tsunade, but Jiraiya was already long gone. Naruto was outside the tower about to walk inside when he saw Konohamaru running toward the tower with 3 people running after him. Jiraiya was jumping on a roof when he saw Naruto standing outside the tower. He jumped down and stood beside him. He whacked Naruto on the head and crossed his arms on his chest. What the hell was that for arrow Sennin? Yelled Naruto putting his hand on the lump. Tsunade was ready to kill me, when you kept her waiting, yelled back the Sannin. Naruto ni-san, yelled Konohamaru, who jumped and hugged Naruto. Konohamaru ni-san, said Naruto softly ruffling his hair. Hey, boss, yelled Udon and the other girl. Boss, I got something to show you, said Konohamaru looking at his rival and big brother. Sakura arrived where Naruto and Jiraiya was standing and called to him. His cerulean eyes have been locked in her jade eyes. That's when he noticed the physical change after 3 years of not seeing her. She was a foot shorter than him. She reached on his chest from heights as she needed to raise her head in order to have a good look at him. Her bubble-gum pink hair was still short from the last time he saw her. Her face was still gorgeous just like always because he has always seen Sakura to be very beautiful. If he had to choose between her and Hinata in beauty, it wouldn't be a hard choice because Hinata had the cute face and the sexy and amazing body. In other words, she was fully developed. After taking a look at her face, his eyes trailed down to her clothing. She was wearing a short-sleeved red shirt with a zipper on the middle and 2 white circles crossed together on the left corner of the shirt. He knew that the white circle was the symbol of her clan, a pink medical skirt with black spandex shorts, long black sandals. He also noticed that she was wearing long black leather gloves reaching to her elbows. Her leaf headband was on top on her head, which it was colored red like her shirt. Her shuriken oslers was on her right leg and her kunai oslers was on the left side of her back. Finally, he needed to notice what she has to offer. He tried to look at her chest to check her breasts. Training with Jiraiya and Kisame had that effect on him, and he didn't see nothing since she was still flat-chested. He wanted to laugh, but he was hiding any kind of emotion right now. Her legs were long and they look hard. Even if he hasn't touched them, he could tell that they have developed some slight muscle structure, meaning that she has been under heavy training. Sakura was looking at her yellow-head teammate holding back her tears. She was holding the urge to hug him tightly and cry on his chest because she has missed him so much and he was the only one she was willing to work with to bring Sasuke back. But she held the though because she knew very well she had no right to do such thing after everything she has done to him. This is the same person who wanted to make her happy, who tried everything in his power to bring her happiness, and she repaid him by punching and reopened the wound that he got trying to make her happy and rejecting him over and over again. She has realized that he was her most precious person a little too late. Now she needed to pay for the consequences of her actions with guilt, regret and sorrow. Ever since she started her training under Tsunade, she's been thinking about him day and night. She couldn't stop thinking about him when she was training. She always got his images giving her his fox grin, but she didn't want her friends to know that she's been thinking about him, so she hid her feelings thinking that Naruto was going to be the same old Naruto that she knew back from Team 7. She has taken a big notice to Naruto's physical change after 3 years of endless training. He was taller than her. She needed to raise her head to look straight at him because of her petite height. She only reached to his chest. She gazed at his face. His yellow hair was long, reaching to his shoulders. She was amazed how much he resembles the fourth Hokage with exception of the whiskers. His face has changed with all the baby fat gone, completely added with his blue eyes. She admits that his new look made him more mature and very attractive. Another thing she held was the incoming blush that was going to strike her cheeks in embarrassment. However, she stopped her train of thought when she saw the look Naruto was giving her. He was smiling at her, but she could tell from her experience in making fake smile, his smile was fake, hiding his true emotions. "Hey Sakura, what's up?" said Naruto with a smile on his face. "That's Naruto. He didn't put the chan after my name. He's still mad about what happened at the hospital," thought Sakura with a sad look on her face. "Welcome back, Naruto. You've grown, you're taller than me now," said Sakura with a hint of sadness in her voice. "Hello, Jiraiya-sama," said Sakura looking at the man that she knew was not happy seeing her. "Hello there, Haruno-san," said Jiraiya, not even taking a second glance at the girl. "Naruto, did I change?" asked Sakura, blushing since the yellow head started looking at her. "No, knowing you, you're still the same," said Naruto in a monotone voice looking at the girl. "Look, Naruto, I'm sorry about what happened at the hospital. I was just angry at the time," said Naruto, still with the sadness in her voice. "That's why I said you didn't change a bit," said Naruto, still in the monotone voice. "You," said Sakura, about to whack him on the head, but Naruto was suddenly behind her, smiling. "New, huh, Sakura," said Naruto with his hand still behind his head. "Fast," was the only thing on the head of the Konohamaru core in Sakura. "Check it out, Ni-san," said Konohamaru. Konohamaru did one hand seal and created a shadow clone, then he did another seal and said, "Waroku no Jutsu, Ona no Ko Dushi, sexy technique, girl companions," and himself and the shadow clone transform into two naked young ladies hugging each other. Jiraiya had a big ass smile on his face, and so did Naruto. "Konohamaru, you're a genius," yelled Jiraiya with his mouth wide open. "That's a 10 inches," yelled Naruto with his eyes wide open and his mouth hanging. The jutsu was cancelled when the girl on Konohamaru's team whacked him over the head and walked away from him, pissed off. Sakura had her angry face on and was walking toward Naruto to hit him, but Naruto didn't even move. He did some hand seals as fast as lightning, then whispered, "Ninpu, Hari Jizu, ninja art, underworld garden spike," and hair grew, then turned into spikes which covered his whole body. Sakura didn't see when he did the hand seals, so she swung at him hoping to send him flying across the village, but Jiraiya took him by the legs and jumped away with him before Sakura could see the jutsu. Naruto cancelled the jutsu and his hair went back to its original length. "What the hell was that?" yelled Naruto, still being held by Jiraiya. "Naruto, you need to go to that office now and don't go showing off your jutsus unless it's a fight," said Jiraiya with a smirk. "Oh shit," said Naruto, running upstairs. "I knew it, he not that strong," thought Sakura. Tower. Naruto ran in the office and found himself breathless by a hug from Tsunade. Naruto hugged her back and she let him go. Naruto stood besides Jiraiya smiling. "How you been, brat?" said Tsunade. "Okay, Ba-chan," said Naruto. "Welcome back, idiot," said Tsunade. "Thank you, old hag," replied Naruto. "Idiot," said Tsunade. "Old hag," said Naruto. "Idiot," said Tsunade. "Old hag," said Naruto. "Idiot," said Tsunade. "Old hag," said Naruto. "Stop it, you two," yelled Shizune, glaring at the both of them. Well, she started it, said Naruto pointing at Tsunade. Okay, back to the matter at hand. We'll have to see how much you've grown, smirked Tsunade. Who do I have to fight? Said Naruto scratching the back of his head. Shikamaru walked in the door with Tamari besides him talking to him. It's you. Hey Shikamaru, are you the one that's going to fight me? Said Naruto putting his hands behind his head. No, I never heard nothing about no fight, said Shikamaru looking at Naruto. Welcome back, maybe we can watch some clouds sometimes, said Shikamaru. Sure, said Naruto with his usual smile. What's up with the change of clothes? Said Shikamaru looking at Naruto. My old cloths got messed up during training, so Ero Sennin told me that my mom left this for me, said Naruto. Okay, well I only came here to give some reports to the Hokage, not your opponent, said Shikamaru giving Tsunade the folder and walking out the room with Tamari.